My wife cheated with her boss while I worked Black Friday doubles to pay bills, so I took everything and let her watch me walk away. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and for most of my life, I've lived by a simple rule: show up. Show up to work, to love, to life, even when you're tired, even when no one claps for you. That's how I was raised. My dad used to say, being dependable isn't flashy, but it's rare. Be rare. That's probably why I fell for Tessa. We met during a brutal finals week in college, both of us broke, stressed, surviving off vending machine snacks and dollar ramen. She was magnetic, not just beautiful, but hungry, driven, the kind of person who could talk about her dreams like they were already scheduled. I remember the first thing she ever said to me, deadpan, eyes locked. If I don't make it big, I'll at least make it out. We clicked hard. Studied together, slept in shifts, laughed through overdraft fees, and cried in each other's arms when internships fell through. She said she didn't want the kind of love that started perfect. She wanted the kind that got built from nothing. I believed her. We got married a year after graduation. Young, broke, and convinced the universe owed us a break for trying so hard. Our first apartment had peeling paint and a heater that groaned like it hated us. I didn't care. We had Tessa's vision and my willingness to hustle. It felt like enough. And honestly, for a while it was. I took on retail jobs while she tried for marketing positions. I never complained when the bills stacked higher than our savings. I thought, this is what building looks like. But somewhere along the way, I missed the part where the builder gets punished for showing up. And now, looking back, maybe I was showing up for someone who stopped caring if I did. Black Friday isn't just a sale, it's a blood sport. I worked at a department store that turned into a war zone every year the day after Thanksgiving. People camped outside in freezing rain to rip TVs out of each other's hands. Managers barked like drill sergeants. Breaks were a myth. This year I signed up for doubles, 4 days straight. 14 hours a day, no complaints. We needed the money. Rent was due, our car needed new tires, and Tessa had been hinting about wanting a weekend getaway in January. Something just for us. I wanted to make that happen. I wanted to be the guy who made life easier, not heavier. Tessa wasn't thrilled about me working so much, though. You're always gone lately, she said, not quite meeting my eyes. I know, baby. Just a few days. I'm doing this for us, she shrugged. Sometimes it feels like you're doing it for yourself. That one stung. But I didn't argue. I figured she was just tired. I kissed her forehead, grabbed my name badge, and headed into the chaos. Each night, I came home to a dark apartment and a cold plate covered in foil. Tessa was always asleep or pretending to be. I'd peel off my shoes, chug half a bottle of water, and collapse next to her, trying not to wake her with the scent of sweat and cheap perfume from the store. By Sunday night, my feet were blistered, my back was on fire, and I'd made almost enough overtime to ease the stress. I texted her from the break room. Let's go somewhere sunny in John, just us, no work. I'll plan it. She hearted the message but didn't reply. I remember staring at that little red heart, smiling through the exhaustion. I thought I was winning, but now I know. That was the weekend she stopped waiting for me to come home. After Black Friday weekend, something in the air between us shifted. It was subtle at first, like a song you know by heart suddenly skipping one note. Tessa was glued to her phone more than usual. Not in the usual social media scroll way either. She'd smile at the screen, type quickly, then lock it like she was hiding a crime scene. She started dressing nicer for work. Heels instead of flats, curls in her hair, spritzes of that expensive perfume I thought she'd forgotten about. She told me her company had launched a new campaign and everyone had to level up. I wanted to believe her. Babe, you look amazing lately, I said one morning as she adjusted her blouse in the mirror. She flashed a quick smile. Thanks. Gotta impress the execs. New account? Something like that, she mumbled, brushing past me. She began staying later at the office. Sometimes she'd get home after 9 and say she had to catch up on deliverables. I tried not to be suspicious. I told myself I was being paranoid, insecure. I didn't want to become that guy, clingy, jealous, needy. But I couldn't ignore the way she stopped asking about my day. Or how she'd pull away just slightly when I reached for her hand during dinner. Or how her phone, once casually tossed onto the couch, now never left her side. One night she got a text while we were watching TV. Her phone buzzed against her thigh. She glanced at it, then flipped it over, screen down. I asked gently, "Everything okay?" She blinked. "Yeah, just work stuff." "Late night work chat?" She smiled without warmth. "You know how it is." No, I didn't, not like that. I told myself I was imagining things. That I was tired. That she was tired. That we'd bounce back like we always did, but in hindsight, it wasn't tiredness. It was distance. And she'd already started moving without me. The company holiday party was at a downtown rooftop bar. Velvet ropes, gold lighting, the kind of place where everything smells like money and overconfidence. Tessa didn't usually care for office events, but this one, she seemed excited. Spent hours getting ready. New dress, fresh nails. Lipstick I hadn't seen her wear in over a year. I wore my best button down, tried to keep up, but walking into that place with her on my arm felt like entering someone else's world. Everyone looked polished, drunk on power and champagne. Tessa floated through the crowd, introducing me to a blur of names I immediately forgot, until I met Damon. He was older, mid-40s, tall, slick, the kind of guy who probably rehearsed his smirk in the mirror. He shook my hand with that slow squeeze that's meant to assert dominance. "So you're the husband," he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Yup, the one who picks up the late-night takeout and watches bad TV with her." He chuckled like I was adorable. I hated him instantly. Later in the night, I watched him brush past Tessa at the bar, his hand casually grazing her lower back. She didn't flinch. Didn't move away either. Just kept talking like nothing had happened. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe they were close because of work. Maybe I was reading too much into it, until a woman, maybe mid-30s, tipsy, clearly trying to be subtle, leaned over to me near the appetizer table and whispered, "You're chill with how close they are?" "That's cool." She laughed, but her eyes lingered, like she knew something I didn't. I smiled politely, but inside my stomach flipped. That night, Tessa fell asleep before I got the courage to ask anything, but the whisper stuck with me. And once a crack forms, your mind finds 1,000 ways to widen it. 2 nights later, everything shattered. It was around midnight. I had just finished folding laundry. Her work blouses always needed delicate handling, and when I came out of the laundry room, I found her asleep on the couch, the glow of her phone still lighting up the space between us. For once, it wasn't in her hand. I should have just let it be. But curiosity has a cruel heartbeat when paired with suspicion. The screen was still unlocked, open on a message thread labeled just D. I tapped it. The first message I saw read, "Still thinking about you in that red dress. You were amazing last night. My breath caught, my thumb scrolled. There were months of messages, photos, jokes at my expense. Plans to meet. Times they had met. Comments about how I wouldn't notice because I was always working my life away." He sent her playlists. She sent him late-night selfies in hotel rooms. There were heart emojis, nicknames, inside jokes. Then I saw one that made me nauseous. "He thinks I'm at a work event, lol." Poor guy. She said that. About me. While I was literally busting my body during Black Friday to pay for our life. She shifted slightly in her sleep, murmuring something. I quickly locked her phone and stepped back, heart racing like I'd just committed a crime. I went into the bathroom and sat on the edge of the tub, shaking. Not crying. Not yet. There's a particular kind of pain that doesn't scream. It just sits. Heavy. I stared at the floor for what felt like hours. I didn't know what to do. I didn't wake her. I didn't yell. I didn't throw her phone. Instead, I went to bed next to her, and when she curled into me like nothing had happened, I just laid there, eyes wide open, and wondered how many times I'd been holding a stranger. I didn't confront her the next day, or the one after. Instead, I played the role. The doting husband. The tired but loving man just trying to keep his household afloat. I kissed her cheek before work. Made her coffee. Asked about her day, all while carrying a war inside my chest. I couldn't unsee those messages. Couldn't unhear her laughter in my head. I started memorizing every pattern. When she left, how long she was gone, which perfume she wore on which days. I checked our shared calendar against the texts I'd screenshotted and emailed to myself from her phone. I even turned on location tracking through our phone plan. Quietly, strategically, because I needed the full picture before I did anything. She made it easy. She stopped trying to hide it. Her excuses got lazier. Late meeting. too tired to talk. Ordering dinner with coworkers. Her phone, always in her hand, had become her second skin. One night I caught her staring out the window, completely zoned out. She looked peaceful in a way I hadn't seen in months. "What's on your mind?" I asked. She blinked and turned to me with a practiced smile. "Just work stress. Anything I can help with?" She kissed my cheek too softly. "You already do more than enough, and somehow that hurt worse than a slap." I started moving things into storage. Just a few boxes. Some of my books, my tools, keepsakes from college. I told her I was decluttering. She didn't ask questions. She barely noticed. Every night, I lay next to her in the dark and tried to remember the girl I married. But the more I looked, the less I saw her, and the more I listened, the clearer it became. I was sleeping beside someone who had already left me. She just hadn't moved out yet. It was a Thursday night when I found the voice memo. She was in the shower. Her phone lit up with a notification. Nothing suspicious, just a reminder for a meeting. But for some reason, I opened her files. I don't even know what I was looking for. Maybe I just needed more proof. Or maybe I was hoping I was wrong. That's when I saw it. A 12-minute voice recording titled Midtown Debrief. I hit play. At first, it was just ambient sound. Clinking glasses, muffled laughter, maybe a restaurant. Then I heard her voice, Tessa, laughing, drunk on confidence. She was talking to Damon. He still thinks I'm busting my ass trying to save money. Dude worked 4 double shifts on Black Friday like it was some kind of gift to me. Damon laughed. "I mean, hey, free weekends for us," he said. "Let the sucker keep grinding," she giggled. "Honestly, it works out." He's too exhausted to notice anything. I could throw on lingerie and say I'm going to yoga, and he'd say, "Have fun, babe." They both howled. I paused the recording. My hands were shaking. I hit play again. I forced myself to hear all of it. They called me Retail Romeo, made jokes about how I still believed in earning love the hard way. She even mocked how I texted her heart emojis when she didn't reply. Damon said I sounded like a 16-year-old simp, and she agreed. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding her phone like it might burn a hole through my palm. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even heartbroken. I was humiliated. This wasn't just cheating. This was betrayal with a smirk. She wasn't lying to protect my feelings. She was bragging about how blind I was, and somewhere between that laughter and the final seconds of that recording, something inside me turned cold. The next morning, I made her pancakes. She liked them a certain way, crispy edges, extra blueberries, powdered sugar dusted lightly. I served them with fresh coffee and a kiss on the forehead. She blinked at me like she didn't recognize the gesture. "What's this for?" she asked, still in her robe. I smiled. "Just felt like showing some love." She laughed softly. "Well, I won't complain." I watched her eat the whole plate. That was the moment I knew. I was done being the guy who reacts. I was going to be the guy who plans, so I got to work, quietly, methodically. I started with the bank. We had a joint savings account, but the bulk of our finances came from my paychecks. So I opened a new account in my name only and began rerouting deposits. I didn't make any drastic moves, just small amounts spread over weeks. Nothing to trigger alerts. I called the phone provider and removed her line from my control, citing privacy concerns. I started separating our insurance, canceling unused subscriptions, tightening the net. Then I looked into our apartment lease and discovered something wild. I was the only one listed. She had moved in after I did. We'd never updated the paperwork. Legally, I had all the leverage. I told her I was thinking of booking a January financial planning session for us. "To start the year strong," I said. She nodded while scrolling through her phone. "Yeah, sure. Whatever helps you sleep." I started packing my keepsakes, photos, old journals, small things she wouldn't notice missing. I bought a few storage bins and told her I was decluttering for the new year. She barely looked up. The more I acted like nothing was wrong, the more careless she became. She thought I was still in the dark, but I was already halfway out the door, taking everything with me. I called the landlord on a random Tuesday afternoon, pretending to ask about renewing early. I slipped the question in casually. "Just to double check, who's officially on the lease again?" She replied, "Just you, Mr. Warner. We never added anyone else after you moved in." That one sentence hit like a match to gasoline. I owned the roof over our heads. Not legally owned it, but I held all the power. She had no claim, no right. No backup plan. It was the first time in weeks I actually smiled. From that moment on, the plan evolved. She told me she'd be going to a company off-site retreat over the weekend. I didn't flinch. I even helped her pack. I folded her black dress, the same one Damon mentioned in his texts, and zipped her suitcase with care. "You're sure you'll be okay without me?" she asked. I kissed her cheek. "I'll manage." The second the door closed behind her, I moved like a man possessed. I had already rented a small storage unit across town. I took everything that was mine: books, tech, clothes, photos of my parents. The wedding album, I left it. But I took the receipts, the bank documents, the titles, anything that proved how much I'd given and how little she deserved to take. I scrubbed the apartment clean. Not out of guilt, but out of finality. Like I was erasing any sign I'd ever made a home there. I even took the coffee maker. She never used it anyway. By the time she checked into her conference, the apartment barely resembled the life we shared. She had no idea. And that was the best part, because when she came back, the only thing left for her would be the echo. She walked in Sunday night, suitcase in hand, smelling like a hotel and someone else's cologne. The apartment was still neat. Too neat. Empty walls, cleared shelves, no photos of us, no scent of my cologne lingering in the hallway. She paused in the doorway, eyes scanning like something was off. But she didn't say anything at first. I was sitting at the dining table, calm, composed, envelope in front of me. "Hey," she said slowly, dropping her bag. "You rearranged?" "No," I replied. "I removed." She tilted her head, confused. "Removed what?" I slid the envelope toward her. Inside, printed screenshots of the texts, the voice memo transcript, and a copy of the lease agreement with her name noticeably absent. She flipped through the pages, her expression unreadable. Then, finally, she looked up. "You went through my phone?" That's what she led with. Not "I'm sorry," not "I made a mistake," not even denial. Just "You went through my phone." "I had to," I said quietly. "Because you wouldn't have told me the truth otherwise." She crossed her arms, leaned against the counter. "So what now?" "You kicking me out?" I nodded. "You have 48 hours. Then I changed the locks." She laughed. "You're really going to ruin everything because I needed more than just grocery store flowers and tired sex once a week?" The words punched me in the gut, but I didn't show it. I stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. She stared at me, waiting for some reaction, rage, begging, maybe even tears, but I had nothing left to give her. No energy, no pain, just silence. And in that silence, I saw her blink, for the first time, unsure. Nervous, but not sorry. She had set fire to our life and expected me to warm my hands in the ashes. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I didn't even ask her why, because at that point, I didn't need to understand the wreckage. I was already stepping over it. She didn't leave right away, of course. She stormed into the bedroom, slammed the door, and called her sister. I could hear her through the wall, ranting about how he's being dramatic, how this is all over a few texts, how I was throwing away a marriage over a mistake. She still didn't see it. The next morning, I went to work like normal. When I came back, she was gone, almost. She left behind a note on the kitchen counter. Folded once, written in her handwriting I used to love. It read, "I hope you find what you're looking for. I needed more than you could give. There was no apology, no remorse, just a final shot fired across a dying battlefield." I stood there for a long time, staring at that note. Then I crumpled it and threw it in the trash. 3 days later, I came back with a moving truck. My friend Sam helped me load up the last of it. Furniture I'd paid for, the mattress we used to share, the desk I worked from while she was out with coworkers. She happened to come back during the move, probably thinking I'd be gone. Her eyes widened when she saw the truck. "What the hell are you doing?" I handed her a paper. "Formal notice. You have 48 hours to vacate." After that, I changed the locks and file for eviction. It's in my name. You know that. She looked at me like I was a stranger. I guess in a way I was. The man who once bent over backwards for her didn't live here anymore. She screamed, cried, begged, called me cold. I didn't flinch because I wasn't cold. I was finally done. I blocked her on everything that night. Phone, email, socials. I wanted silence, not closure. The next day, I filed for divorce. I had every piece of evidence: screenshots, recordings, timelines. My lawyer took one look at the folder I handed over and said, "This'll be quick." 2 days after the paperwork was filed, she showed up at my workplace. I didn't even know she knew where it was. She stood by the front desk, red-eyed, holding a coffee cup like she was doing some rom-com scene. I walked right past her without a word. She didn't follow. Later, her mom called me from a blocked number. "She's devastated," she said. "Don't ruin her future over one mistake." I wanted to laugh. "One mistake?" I said. "She built a second relationship while sleeping in my bed." "She didn't just cheat, she humiliated me," her mom sighed. She was lonely. "You were always working." "I was working for us," I snapped. "She just decided to use that as an excuse to entertain someone else." Click. I didn't need anyone to explain her away. I already understood her perfectly. I submitted everything to her company's anonymous HR line. I didn't even have to leave my name. Just dumped the receipts, screenshots, recordings, even the one where they joked about their hotel rewards program. A week later, Damon's LinkedIn said he was seeking new opportunities. Poetic. I didn't gloat. I didn't post. I didn't tell mutual friends. I just watched as the bridges burned behind me, quietly, methodically. She sent a final email 2 weeks later from a new address. Subject line: "Please, just talk to me." I didn't open it because I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I was unreachable, and for someone who once thought she could always lure me back, that was the real punishment. She thought she'd walk away with half. That's the thing about people like her. They always assume the court will save them, that appearances matter more than actions. But the truth? Courts like paper trails, and I had miles of them. She tried to demand alimony. Said she sacrificed her emotional energy while I chased money. Her lawyer, fresh out of law school, looked confident during our first mediation meeting until my attorney calmly slid the folder across the table. Every text, every call log, the voice memo, the lease in my name. The fact that I paid 90% of the bills, including her credit card debt and car repairs, it was surgical. Her face drained of color as her own words were read aloud. My lawyer said, given the documentation of infidelity and the financial imbalance, we're filing for a clean divorce. No assets owed. No support payments due. Her attorney turned to her, whispering harshly. 10 minutes later, they asked for a recess. By the next session, her lawyer had resigned. She came back alone. I didn't even look at her. The judge ruled in my favor. I kept the apartment, the car, the bank account I had slowly separated. She left with whatever was already in her suitcase, and her pride in tatters. I later found out she tried to apply for a line of credit under both our names. It got flagged because I had already locked my credit. Another quiet move she never saw coming. She texted me from an unknown number. "You really planned all of this?" I stared at the screen for a while, then deleted the message without responding. She thought she had drained me. But I was the one who unplugged the tap, and now she was left trying to drink from a well she poisoned herself. It was a rainy Thursday night when I heard the knock. Not a text. Not a call. A knock. I opened the door to find her standing there, soaked through, no umbrella, mascara bleeding into her cheeks like war paint. She wasn't wearing her usual polished look. No heels, no tight dress. Just a hoodie. One of my old hoodies. She looked small. "Can I come in?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. I stepped aside but didn't answer. She stood in the living room like she didn't recognize it anymore. Because she didn't. I'd rearranged everything. New rug. New art. Her ghost didn't live here now. "I made a mistake," she finally said, wringing her hands. "I didn't think it would go this far." I didn't speak. "I miss us," she said. "I miss the way you looked at me. I miss feeling safe. Damon was a fantasy. You were real. I got lost." I watched her quietly. "You don't have to forgive me. Just talk to me, yell at me, hate me. Something." I shook my head. "No," I said. She blinked. "No to what?" "No to all of it." I walked to the door and opened it. "You missed me when I was gone. I missed me while I was with you." "I think that's worse." She stood there stunned, lips trembling. "I loved you," she whispered. I nodded. "I know, and I showed up every day because of that. but I'm not showing up for someone who keeps the door open for someone else. For a moment, she didn't move. Then she stepped out into the rain. I closed the door behind her, firmly. No slam. No theatrics, just closure. Sometimes goodbye doesn't need a speech. Sometimes it just needs a locked door that finally stays shut. I used to think peace meant quiet, no arguments, no tension, no raised voices, but real peace? It's deeper than silence. It's waking up and not checking your phone for damage. It's walking into your home and not bracing for coldness disguised as routine. It's knowing that everything in your life, even if small, is yours. After the divorce was finalized, I took time off work. Just 2 weeks, but it felt like a lifetime. I slept in. I cleaned out the last remnants of her energy from my apartment. I replaced the old coffee table she picked with a second-hand one I liked. I bought new bed sheets. Sage green. She hated that color. I love it now. I went on that trip we'd been saving for, alone. Just a weekend by the coast, cheap motel, instant coffee, a notebook I barely touched. But it was mine. Every moment. Every breath. I reconnected with friends I'd ghosted during the marriage. They didn't ask questions, just handed me a beer and made me laugh until my ribs hurt. I started cooking again. Nothing fancy, eggs, stir-fry, burnt toast. But it felt good to feed myself, to nourish something other than resentment. And slowly, the weight began to lift. There was no dramatic transformation. No montage. Just small, steady changes. Like my smile returning in pieces. Like my laughter no longer needing permission. Sometimes I'd catch myself looking at the empty spot on the couch where she used to sit. And I'd feel nothing. No anger. No ache, just space. And that space? It felt like freedom. If you're reading this, there's a good chance you've been the one who stayed too long. The one who gave and gave, thinking that love was a matter of endurance. That if you just held on, tight enough, long enough, they'd see your worth. I used to believe that too. I thought showing up every day would eventually earn me the kind of loyalty I gave so freely. I thought sacrifices spoke louder than temptation. I thought love, if it was real, would never humiliate you. I was wrong. What I learned is this. Not everyone deserves access to your effort. Some people mistake your consistency for weakness. Some people will watch you bleed just to warm, their hands by the fire of your pain. But that doesn't mean you were wrong to love. It means they were wrong to waste it. Spent so long blaming myself, asking what I could have done differently, what signs I missed, what parts of me weren't enough. But the truth is, I was enough. I always was. She just didn't want what I was offering. And that's okay, because someone out there will. Someone will value the man who stays late to fix the car, who packs lunches without being asked, who kisses foreheads and remembers favorite songs, who works doubles not to escape home, but to protect it. And if no one shows up, then you become the one who shows up for yourself. Now, months later, I'm not angry. I don't stalk her socials. I don't dream of revenge. I dream of peace, of building something honest, of never again having to question whether love comes with a knife hidden behind the back. To anyone out there stuck in betrayal's shadow, know this. Leaving isn't weakness. It's power, and sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away without looking back. Let them live with what they lost, because healing looks damn good on you.